Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
The Bachelorette
and Friends.
From first love to happy ever after.
What's that?
From dating to dick pics.
Oh my. Oh no!
The Bachelorette and Friends. Oh, I love a good dick. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Bachelorette and Friends. I'm Carla Anita Matiazzo, and to my left is the gorgeous Lainey Jameson. Hey, Lainey.
Hey, Carla girl.
Today we have a very, very special guest, the fierce, fabulous, and formidable Alex de Porteous. He is stirring up the Melbourne underground scene and commanding audiences into complete surrender. In her 20s and with a career spanning over 6 years, she has earned a title as one of Australia's best alternative queer cabaret artists, selling out solo seasons at the Adelaide Fringe and calling stages at the Adelaide Cabaret Festival, the famous Spinglet Tent, the Garden of Unearthly Delights, and Gluttony Home. She's shared a stage with Murray Hill, John Cameron Mitchell, Courtney Act, Meow Meow, Ruben Kay, and Hans, and is now found tantalising audiences at Honcho Disco, Tomboy, Circuit. Can you say that for me, Alex? Hi.
Circuit. Yeah.
Circuit.
Hey.
Good. Red Light Confidential, and Ruby Slippers, Church, Saddle Club, Cabaret Abnormal, Tash York's Friends with Benefits, good old Tash, and Beers for Queers. Man, woman, you have been busy, and apologies for stumbling over some of those names, Alex.
You did
How
really
are
well.
you?
I'm so good, babes. How are you?
Yeah, good. Lovely to see you.
So good to see and hear your voice.
Oh, thank you, Alex. That's so cool. You look like your setup there is pretty luxurious. I'm loving the sheer curtains in the background. They're gorgeous.
I mean, we like to do party from the waist up and then comfort from the waist down. So like what you can see, it looks really glamorous, and then everything below me looks basically like a club floor, because I'm just trying to find anything that resembles something that used to pay my bills.
Yeah, sure.
Just at the moment, I'm like, give me clutter, give me grime, give me mess, give me filth, throw it at me.
And the glitter, the craft.
And the glitter.
Yeah.
I don't even have to add that one in. That just follows me.
Oh, it's the herpes of craft, as we all know.
Yeah, herpes of cabaret.
Definitely. So for listeners at home, let me bring you up to speed. This podcast is based on the premise of my award-winning cabaret show, The Bachelorette. There's always a catch, where I talk and sing about my first love to what I thought was happy ever after and everything in between. And I mean everything. So, Alex, that's where we'll start. Let's start with first crushes. We're going to delve as deep as you like or as shallow as you like.
Oh my goodness.
You remember your first crush?
To be honest, I feel like it would have been along the lines of like the Wiggles. But I know that my mum had a huge crush on Jeff, so maybe that's where it came from. Yeah, maybe that. But in the way of like, I don't know, high school crushes,
Yeah.
I didn't really have many. I like really loved musicians.
Yeah.
And controversial to say now, and I almost want to take it back, but I was a huge Michael Jackson fan at the time.
Yes.
Yeah,
Isn't that hard?
I really was. It's really, really hard. One of my best friends has a Michael Jackson tattoo, and we have a regular conversation about like whether or not to let that one go. And I've certainly let that crush go, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, speaking of Michael Jackson, I remember he was his History CD was the first CD I ever got as a kid, and I remember flipping out. I was so excited to get my very first CD. Fucking loved Michael Jackson, and now I'm like, oh, that's so filthy. I feel that memory, my childhood memory, is tainted.
Yeah, corrupted.
It really is. Yeah, it's really crazy.
Changed.
But I mean, on that same note of having, you know, crushes that then turn into something that you really didn't expect or didn't think that they would ever turn out to be, I feel like that's a super regular thing. I've definitely had crushes on people throughout my life so far, where I've gotten to know them a bit more or heard more about them and gone, ooh, gross.
Yep.
Like, isn't that a crazy thing?
Yeah, isn't it interesting? I have to say that as I've gotten older, crushes I'm very cautious about, because 99% of the time, the crush, exactly what you said, Alex, you learn more about that person and you go, oh, fuck, why was I even attracted to that?
Yeah, yuck. Why have them?
Yeah, they're just a nuisance. Like, only have feelings for people that something will happen with. Why do crushes happen? That they're just inconvenient.
Yeah, and they are very surface level things as well, I believe. So I don't know. I don't really feel like I get crushes on people now. Maybe it's because I'm too busy. Maybe it's because I'm too self-absorbed. I don't know. But like,
Alex, that's not true. You're not self-absorbed, darling. No, that's not true. So from the Wiggles then, how did that evaporate? If you had a crush on the Wiggles, did anything eventuate? Because I know that they have certain clauses in their contract where, you know, people can't approach them unless X, Y, Z.
yeah. Well, I met the Wiggles at like a little meet and greet.
When was this?
And, I would have been like, I was very young. I was a child.
Yeah.
I would have been maybe 7 or 8 or something like that, if not younger. And I think there is a funny thing about when you have crushes on celebrities, when you meet them, they're like, never meet your childhood crush or never meet your, you know, idol. And then you kind of meet them and you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe it evaporated then, I'm not sure, but I think I moved on. I think a new TV show or something came out and I liked that way more.
Yeah, right. Okay, so from crushes, then I guess the next logical-ish step would be first love or first relationship. Can you walk us through your experience with that, Alex?
Oh my goodness. That's a really hard one, because I look back on, you know, people that I've had crushes on or romantically been involved with and things like that over the years. And as my knowledge has grown on those things, I look at it and I go, was that love? Like, have I ever felt that? And to answer you correctly, I actually don't really think I have experienced true love yet. I am only 21 years old, so like that's a pretty standard thing. But I don't really feel like I've had a genuine enough connection with anyone in my life yet on a romantic or intimate level in order to feel like real love, and I've been brokenhearted, absolutely. But I feel like they were based.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like they're based on, you know, ideas of love rather than actual love. And I feel like movies and rom-coms and things like that have a big part to play in how we feel as people and how we relate to love and romance.
Yeah, they definitely send us down the wrong track. Like, I love Disney. Don't get me wrong, I fucking love Disney. But man, oh man, have we been indoctrinated to believe that love looks and feels and sounds like there's only a cookie.
Someone come and save me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vomit. Yeah.
Please. No, literally, please, someone come and save me. stuck in
It's
Melbourne.
all right. You're always welcome here, Alex, when you come back.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah. So, speaking of the saving you and why you're saying that, so currently, tell us where Melbourne is at the moment, so people understand what time in the pandemic our episode is being recorded.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the middle of, actually towards the end of hopefully stage 4 lockdown in Melbourne. So I'm isolating completely solo because I am single as a Pringle and yeah, so we are it literally feel like I am kind of in an apocalypse. I wish I was in a rom-com, but instead I am very much in a sci-fi movie from what it feels like. Yeah, not much happening here.
How many weeks left? How many weeks left of this
I have no idea.
stage?
I think that maybe some things are going to be announced tomorrow, whether we can step back down to stage 3, which our numbers have been really good, so that's nice.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully Hans can welcome you into the South Australian bush like he did the other day.
I would love to walk through Hans's bush.
I loved his pink outfit. It was so good.
It's so camp.
Oh, love it.
So camp.
Love it so much. Okay, so seeing as we are talking about being single in this pandemic, I know when we in South Australia kind of went through a lockdown, I'm single. Lainey's single. If I didn't have my doggos here, I'd be fucked.
Yeah.
For me, Cat is the man in my life.
Yeah, I'd be
Sane.
I don't.
Oh, I'm sleeping with my collection of fur jackets. Like.
Oh,
honey.
Alex.
I need to send you like a dog or a cat teddy.
I know. Just anything that is soft. No. It's
sending you lots of love from here.
Oh, thank you. I mean, there are worse places that you could be, I'm sure. And I feel very privileged to be in a beautiful apartment where I am safe and I have access to food and I have access to resources and I have FaceTime and beautiful friends and family around me. And not everyone has that. So I feel like as isolating as it can be to be single during a time like this, there are way worse off situations that we could have all been in.
So what have you been doing to keep yourself occupied, Alex?
I've been making a lot of online content. I'm currently studying graphic design, which was sort of something that I picked up in isolation. I was like, I've got nothing to do. I felt like it sort of got to the point where maybe the first 3 months in, I was like, woo, party. And it was a well-earned break after having just coming off tour and things like that. And then I sort of went, oh my goodness, I have no purpose, no reason to get out of bed. And I stayed in bed. And then I had this click where I was like, let's upskill. Let's use this time to do something that you wouldn't have time to do. And that for me was studying, going back to study. So been doing heaps of graphic design work for myself and a few other people.
And you can use that with your cabaret stuff as well. That's brilliant.
Exactly. I think as artists, as soon as we can upskill and, you know, have a versatile portfolio of skills, the better you can be off. And I can help my friends and colleagues out now as well, which is nice.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
That's
exactly right. So let's delve back into the whole love topic, and let's hope that lockdown comes and goes very swiftly for you guys in Victoria. Let's hope it's over before we know it. So in the show, in the cabaret show, we talk about the concept of happy ever after. What are your thoughts? Does it exist? Does it not exist? If it does, what's your version or your vision of what happy ever after could possibly be? If you don't mind unpacking that for us.
Do you know what? I think I do believe in happily ever after, but I don't know if I believe it on just a romantic level.
Right.
Like I think that everyone's got their own happily ever after, whether that is, getting married and having kids, or, adopting, or living by yourself, or financial goals or career goals and things like that. I feel like those things apply to like a happily ever after.
Yeah.
Totally.
So what does
I know that's sort of a broad answer.
No, but what if you had to, because I'm forcing you to, Alex, what if you could wave a wand and get everything you ever wanted, what would it look like?
I'm a bore, and it's going to be career goals. It's going to be like having, do you know what? Actually, it's balance.
Yes, good girl. Yep.
Balance. And it's having enough time and success within my career. It's being able to navigate relationships if they come my way, and have time to give to someone else. And as well as that, I feel like self-worth is a big one for me. Like getting to a point in my life where I am so comfortable and happy within myself that whatever comes my way, whether that is a partner, whether that is, marriage, a relationship, children, whatever that is, I'm not sure. But I want to be at a place where I can open that opportunity up for myself and take it on and be a good partner or be a good person, a family member, friend, whatever it is.
That was beautifully articulated, Alex. I think it's so important what you were talking about in regards to self-worth, because once you value yourself, different things, I believe, different things gravitate towards you that are in line with how you value yourself.
Yeah, and bringing in
absolutely,
because you're moving from that space where you've got that sense of self-worth, rather than maybe making bad choices or not so great choices about people, because you don't want to feel less than, bringing those people into your world.
I so agree. And I feel like throughout my time in high school, I saw a lot of my peers jump from relationship to relationship. And I feel like it is something that we are not necessarily taught, but we have this understanding that, if someone else is going to love you, then you are worth so much more than if you're by yourself. And it's so much easier than to jump from, surface level relationships that never really grow or develop, or were never really built on the foundations that a relationship should be based on, just for the fact of like this person and this person both want to seem like they are more comfortable with themselves or more equal to everyone else by being in a relationship, which is sad.
Very true. The love's got to start with yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not.
If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can we say that? Is that copyrighted?
It's interesting though that, and it's so fantastic that you at 21, Alex, have come to that conclusion.
Yeah, I wish I was there at 21. I was nowhere near it. I was just making very major relationships. Yeah.
It feels silly sometimes.
Why?
And it feels a bit selfish and silly. I have this conversation with my mum a lot.
Girl. I commend you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is interesting. My mum often says to me, like, what's your goal? Do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? What do you want for your future? Who do you see in your future? And yeah, when I talk honestly about it, I'm like, I don't really see it yet. And maybe that's because I have a lot more growth to do, but I also can see the value in putting all of the things that I want to tick off my list first.
Yeah, fabulous.
In order to help me grow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And important.
And I think your mum having that conversation with you is really nice. I think the fact that she's giving you the opportunity to think about those things and actually go, Mum, I'm not there. And that's completely fine, instead of being conditioned to think that there's something wrong with you. Because just going back on my life, as you were saying that, Alex, my nonna on my mum's side only saw value in us if we were partnered as adults.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. How did you find that? That's kind of a hard thing to here in some ways.
Yeah, well, look, I think that was another layer to the "you're not good enough" cake that she had baked for me throughout my whole life. So it was something I didn't even have an epiphany on until a few years ago. And having to dig myself out of, hang on a minute, I am actually valuable without anybody attached to me, without somebody wanting to marry me. I have value as an individual, not because, I'm in a relationship. Like, I just think that that's fucking ridiculous, that you only have value if somebody loves you.
That's social conditioning out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
And I think especially as I've grown older, there was a period of time where I'd get asked, "Oh, are you married?" "No." "Oh, do you have kids?" "No." And you can almost hear the next sentence, "Oh, well, what's wrong with you then?"
Yeah.
"Oh, I chose music."
Yeah.
And it's actually quite a tricky thing.
Yeah, it is.
Actually finding a partner that's either not jealous, not threatened, supportive, it's pretty tricky.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, all of those words that you just said are like things that constantly go around my head. Like,
I'm glad.
It's a hard thing to juggle.
You've got a great head on your shoulders, and you're already thinking about it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's 500 steps further than what I was at 21.
Me too. I was nowhere near as together as you when I was 21.
No, amazing, Alex. That's amazing. So you spoke about heartbreak before, that you've been heartbroken before. How did you get yourself out of a state of heartbreak? How did you move yourself back to the fierce Alex that we know?
Work.
Yes.
The answer is always work for me. And a lot of people think that that's unhealthy. And it doesn't mean that I haven't sat in bed and cried for 3 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's really important. I think grieving's important. I think talking to people is really important. But something that's always motivated me and always driven me has been work.
Yeah,
and I feel my most powerful and at my best when I am busy, in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Busy as in you have time to do your meal prep, you have time to catch up with friends, but your life has a routine, well, my life has a routine and purpose for each day.
Yeah, it goes back to purpose.
Bit of drive. Yeah, it is. And maybe it is that thing where when you are so invested in someone as a person that is not yourself, they kind of give you a little bit of purpose and reason to get up each day.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Very true.
But I guess work is kind of my love and coping mechanism. When I talk now, I'm talking to you about it. I'm like, oh.
Don't worry, I just had a light bulb moment. Not much further down the path than you in terms of age.
So I think it's so important to point out, Alex, that you are super self-aware. And I think the fact that you are super self-aware and what you said before about, yes, work helps you get through heartbreak, but you are also very aware that you need to grieve as well to allow yourself to release those emotions before you can move forward.
You can't be a robot. You can't be a robot. You can't bottle things up. Everyone knows that never works. And it might feel fine at the time to put on a mask. And, I'm the queen of putting on a mask. When we're not in COVID, I put on a mask 5 days a week. It's made of foundation and powder and eyeshadow.
And the glitter.
And the glitter.
And the glitter.
Your makeup that you did for your sunrise spot was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
How long did that
take? Me a good like a face like that, which is kind of my standard stage makeup, probably I like to give myself 3 hours, but I could do it in an hour and a half if I wanted to. I think that took 2 hours because I had to get up at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
which
me.
Was hilarious because I'm usually going to bed, well, not even going to bed. I'm leaving the club at 3 a.m., even on a Wednesday night. So actually having the realization that I physically would not be doing this, or I would be doing this in a very different state than I am now. About 5 tequilas down.
Yeah.
Wow.
That would have been
At least.
very different viewing. Very different viewing, Alex.
Can you imagine? Oh,
that
Sunrise
would
wouldn't
have
have
been
known.
hilarious. So have you, speaking of heartbreak, how we were talking about heartbreak just before, have you ever broken someone's heart? I mean, you broke my heart when you fucking left for Melbourne, but besides that.
I think I broke a few people's hearts when I left for Melbourne. I'm sure I have. And whether it's been in a really intense way, I'm not sure. I haven't really ever spoken to people that have said that they were interested in me or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But on a like mild surface level, I've had a lot of drunk people come up to me and confess their love for me and wanting to enter relationships, whatever they may be, and I've had to very kindly turn that down. And some of the looks on people's faces, and maybe it is because they too have had a few tequilas, it's not an easy thing to witness.
Yeah.
I think I would much rather hang on to something and have my own heart broken. But in saying that, I feel like if you're breaking someone's heart, then it should be breaking your heart at the same time too.
Yeah, there's still some grief that does generally happen unless you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
There's still some, because it's still, people dealing with each other's emotions. Do you think, because in the show we talk about the catches that I've collected along my way in relationships. Some are family. A catch can be timing with people. I know that one of my catches, and has been a contentious issue for the relationships that I've had, is I use too much toilet paper.
Very topical for that.
And this was before COVID. This was before COVID.
We would have problems. If I can hear that toilet paper going, oh my goodness, you'd be hearing me at the door.
So what do you think your catches are, or the lessons you've learned along the way, in regards to dating, love, anything along those lines?
I feel like my catches are definitely funny things. Like, I'm A-type personality.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot go to sleep without the house being reset.
Yeah, okay.
So cleanliness is a huge one for me. And I've been delving into these things during COVID, talking to friends, where we've just come up with things like, how many times do you change your bed sheets? And my goodness, people disgust me sometimes.
I know, they're fucking gross, aren't they?
Things like that I'm just I'm a little bit of a germaphobe as well. So things like that, I guess I'm a bit of a nagger in the way of why aren't you having a shower? Why aren't you? Yeah. Things like that. Can we reset the space? Respectful communal living. Things like that. I know that I'm a pain in the ass.
Yeah. It's okay. It's called standards, Alex.
Yeah, it's good.
Standards, yeah. And mine are bloody high.
Good.
No, I think that would definitely be one. I think another one would be maybe that I invest a little too much in my work sometimes. Okay. And I know that, and you mentioned this, Lainey, when you're in the middle of a fringe season or a huge show or a huge tour and things like that, people get really jealous, and people don't know how, unlike a normal 9-to-5 job, people can't see, all right, you're at work from 9 to 5 and that's fine. That's your work time. You don't owe it to me. When we're in situations like this as artists, we are working 24/7. The minute you wake up, you are checking emails, sending things off. Yes. You're going to sleep really late. There's no time for even yourself. And fringe season is the worst. And I don't know how I have so many friends that get into relationships at Adelaide Fringe. And I'm like, where are y'all at?
Do they do that? Yeah.
They must just stay up.
Yeah, I don't know.
All night.
Every time I hear that, I'm like, how the fuck does that happen?
I'm so happy for them.
Yeah, me too.
But
Yeah, no. Nah. I'm so routine during Fringe.
Yeah, me
I have to
too.
make sure I get the right amount of sleep, that I'm doing X, Y, Z. Otherwise, I'm gonna fuck my
Can't get
voice
through
for the
this
show.
season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can't. That's game over.
Yeah.
And in saying that as well, I think when you take your career in the arts really seriously, it sort of consumes your world. And as you said, like making sure that your voice isn't going to be strained and things like that. People not having knowledge on the fact that, yeah, you have to take into account that you need to cool down after a show and you need to do warm-ups before the show and that you need to be resting your voice and not going out, and things like that are really hard things to juggle. And I know that even on a friendship level during Fringe, I've had, oh my goodness, so many friends message me. I think I would probably say like maybe 5 or 6 friends, if not more, message me during a tour or during a Fringe festival saying, I haven't heard from you in a really long time. Can't believe that you would just throw our friendship out the window like that. And every year before I enter a huge tour or a huge show or festival, I message all of my close friends and family, and if there is anyone that I'm talking to on a romantic level, and say, hey, this is a really crazy time for me. I still care about you. I still love you. I still want to see you. But just know that this time for me is going to be a little bit hectic for a while. And it's going to be over literally on this date. Like,
Yeah, so
and it's hard for people to process that. There's an end date.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I've had,
I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. I've had times where I've literally had to tell friends, like, I actually can't talk to you on the phone after this time. If like we did 20 shows and you did more, but just for our show together, we did 20 shows for the Fringe, and there'd be people like ringing me and stuff afterwards, and I'd reply back saying, look, I love to chat, but it has to be via text because my voice is exhausted, because I was not only doing 20 shows at the Fringe, I was working full time as well as a teacher. So my voice was being used like a motherfucker. So even just
without,
even just,
and you're doing all the press calls.
Yeah. And just explaining that, some people were like, oh, you're a fucking diva. I'm like, no. These are my jobs. They're both very voice heavy. You're just going to have to bear with me.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? I remember a couple of years ago, I literally came off stage at Fringe, and somebody that I was working with in a band decided at that point in time to send this long, heavily guilted, I think it was a messenger message about my lack of commitment to their band. And I thought, hang on a minute, same deal. I told them that I was playing in Fringe. I had X amount of shows, and at that point I was lucky enough to be doing 2 shows a night. And you just, it's quite baffling how people can't quite understand it. But it's interesting because something that came up in my relationship, the sort of long to and fro one that started at age 21 and ended a couple of years ago, it's this assumption that you're out partying when you're actually working your butt off.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really sort of made my blood boil, just in terms of the misconceptions. And it's quite prevalent with friends or just with people in general. It's really quite interesting to become aware of just this misconception that it's a big party.
Yeah, it's fucking not.
That's really funny. I get that quite a lot from a lot of people that I've talked to in the past, where I label myself under the bracket of a club kid, which is like from New York Times, where like it's experimental underground art and things like that, and you kind of live in the club. And when I'm not in COVID, I do live in the club. I'm in the club on a Wednesday night through to a Sunday, from all hours. And it's not that I'm there partying. Most of the time I drive myself in.
Yeah.
I'm not partying. I'm there. And if I'm not there to work, I'm there to expand my knowledge, and I'm there to socialize as well. And I'm not ashamed to say that, like, that is my life and that's my circle and that's my work and my play.
And networking so important too, Alex.
Networking, personal growth, like seeing shows, doing things, that's your life. That I wouldn't ever say to a partner, you're not allowed to go to Brisbane to do that press conference.
Yeah. Look,
So
I think because all three of us create and we're all creators of art, we cannot fucking create if we are not living. So we actually do need to get amongst it to a certain extent. But like you said, it is part of our work. Like, I love to people watch. Like, it must be like, I love to, not only for like character development, but for, like, one of my best friends and I have this game that we play when we go out for dinner. Him and I will look around the room and see if we can work out what the couples are doing, if they're on a first date, if they've been dating for a while, if they're married, and just seeing the way people's body language, when you're just observing and not hearing what they are saying and breaking down the body language between two people, that's so useful for performance, like so fucking useful. I remember we were at Crybaby maybe a year ago, roughly, very roughly, time span, year and a half ago, whatever it was. And we were playing our game of people watching and making up what each person was saying to the other person. And this couple caught us, but that's not the best part of the story. So you could tell that this was an early stage date because of the fucking body language. This guy was giving her absolutely nothing, and just aesthetically and superficially, she was out of his league. And I'm not a big believer in leagues, but you could see aesthetically they were not suited. Like, you could just, it was a vibe, it was an aesthetic.
Someone had catfished on Tinder.
Yeah, something.
And it wasn't her.
But it's interesting though, because she was all over him and he was giving her nothing. Wow. So to me, from my lens and my worldview, I was like, darling, you guys are not suited. She either didn't have any self-worth or understanding of the vibe that she was giving off was very, very different to what he was giving off.
Yeah, wow. Was it hard?
That's interesting.
To not say anything?
I'm never fucking quiet, so of course not.
I love your
That was another thing that I was thinking. Another catch of mine is that I talk a lot, but I'm a Libra. And I know some people don't follow star signs, but Libras are renowned for having people think that they are hitting on people through conversation, because we compliment people a lot.
Yep.
And the way that we talk can sometimes come off as flirtatious and things like that. So I tend to get myself into really tricky conversations, or people being like, whoa, I don't see you like that.
Yes.
Because the way that I talk to people.
Yes.
Which is another thing. But I do talk a lot as well, and people hate that. A lot of people hate that. People that are like, I could talk to myself.
Same.
And I do.
So do I, yep.
So do I.
Especially right now.
I think you can be forgiven.
Yeah, I think so. Isn't that interesting though? That's so interesting, Alex, that yeah, look, I think, I don't know if it's a cultural thing for me, but there's been a few times where guys have thought that I'm hitting on them when I'm literally just having a polite, jovial conversation, and I'm an affectionate person. I touch. The people that I care about. For example, it was my birthday a few weeks ago, and a few of us went out after Lainey and I went out to dinner. A few of us were out in town because we're allowed to in Adelaide. So yeah, we were doing the right thing. We weren't doing anything wrong. Like, anyway,
rub it in.
No, I'm not trying to rub it in. I'm just like covering my bases.
I just lapped to the city looking for a park. I got up and swore and went home.
Yeah, no, it was too hard around there. Yeah, it's very difficult parking around there. But because there were a couple of people that I'm super duper, one is my best friend, but because they're the opposite sex, I had my arm, like, I'm very affectionate with the people that I'm close with, that I trust, that I love, whatever. And there was a few people going like, oh, so what's going on there? I'm like, fucking nothing. This is my best friend, and this is one of my close friends, and this is how I show that I care and I love them.
Language.
And like, why the fuck should I have to explain
Correct.
how I am with my people? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why
That
are you
frustrates
unpacking
me.
this? Yeah.
And that's a common thing, like a common thing that creates jealousy within relationships is when people can't distinguish between platonic intimacy and romantic. Like you can be all over someone and hug and kiss someone and never ever want to be in a relationship with them, let alone intimate on another level.
Yes.
And I don't see why people can't see that. In Melbourne, there's a extremely large quantity of people, and I don't know whether it's because I'm, working in the queer scene over here mainly, but a lot of people that are in non-monogamous and polyamorous relationships over here. And it's kind of almost assumed that most people kind of are.
Right.
And so when I'm out, there are people that I know that are in couples that are like off hugging and kissing other people, and like that's not even a question that comes into play. But when I was living in Adelaide, I definitely feel I'm quite similar to you, Carla. Like I love hugging people, and I'm like all over my friends. Like I love them. And you do sometimes get people that are like, oh, what's going on? Like as soon as they see you holding hands with someone, they assume that you're in a relationship with them.
It's very
and it's a hard thing.
It's frustrating. Like I even remember, I don't know, Lainey, if you remember when there was New York Bar and Grill, the Sunday nights, the hip hop nights down at Marion. Because when I was a teenager, Alex, we lived up in Coromandel Valley, and in my early adulthood, we were up there too, and then down at Mitcham. But I would do the grand on Sunday nights and then Thursday nights at New York Bar and Grill. And I have a lot of friends of both sexes, genders, whatever people identify with. And I dance with all of them the fucking same. I dance with all of them the same. I love a fucking dance. And I remember one night going out with my cousin, and we were with her girlfriends, my cousin's girlfriends. And they were like, oh, and this is in like early 20s, late teens, so 18 plus. Oh, your cousin's a bit of a slut. She dances with everybody. My cousin,
I didn't know that was a crime.
Yeah. And I remember my cousin being like, no, these people are all her friends. This is just how she is with her friends. Yeah. And it wasn't like I was fucking people on the dance floor. It was literally I was waltzing and I was like getting in the groove with fucking hip hop. Yeah, of course you're going to bump and grind a bit with hip hop, but I wasn't. Like just that perception that if somebody dances with somebody, oh, okay. And if you dance with more than one person, you're a fucking slut. Like,
very interesting.
Wow, I didn't know that was a thing.
Like us as three artists, just artists in general seem to be a bit different in how we express ourselves anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
Than, say, your average office worker.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
I think we feel deeply.
Very much so.
And do you know what shits me about that, Alex, is sometimes because we feel deeply, we are criticised for being vulnerable and open with our emotions, and that we are oversensitive or drama queens when we are the ones that are not scared to express how we feel, whereas the majority of people that are not in touch with their creative intuition or whatever it is, just suppress it and then deal with it in different ways.
That's so true. I am a slut for communication.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It makes life easier if you can communicate how you're feeling.
Yeah, and how many
goodness
sideways when the communication's gone to crap.
Oh, dude.
Lived it for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, man. Miscommunication is always the downfall of everything, I think. Everything. things could be so much easier if, say, a conversation is happening and one person is not clear about something or uncomfortable with an aspect of what is being talked about, and that person that feels uncomfortable goes, can I just hold you there for a second? I'm not quite clear about XYZ and it is making me feel this way. Am I assuming this correctly? Am I interpreting this correctly? Is this how you're intending it? But I know I've tried to do that, especially with the opposite sex, and that does not go down well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a flock of lead kites. To be
Yeah,
precise.
it doesn't go down well.
It's you're so correct. Yeah, my mind is going, whoa,
Our brain is
whoa.
And I don't know why it is such an issue to ask for clarification. Why is it so offensive to go, hang on, I've just registered this like this. Am I registering it correctly with your intention, or am I registering it incorrectly because of my worldview, my lens in life that I've collected along the way? Why is that such an issue? Like, is it because it's too upfront and just asking for people to be transparent and they don't want to be transparent? What do you think it is, Alex?
I think that's really interesting, because one thing that I always do in pretty much every situation is like asking for consent and being like, hey, are we both on the same page? And if you're not comfortable expressing how you feel, is how I feel something that you feel like you're on a similar page to.
Yeah.
And I think people do get really scared by that. And then maybe it is vulnerability. And I think for me, a lot of it comes from fear of not pleasing someone. And, you know, if I say how I truly feel, then is that gonna completely eliminate this situation, or is this gonna remove me, or is this gonna scare you off? And I think a lot of it does come down to fear of people, of something ending, or fear of change.
And do you
I don't
find
know.
people, or I guess in the romantic sense, are a bit, do you find that they're a little bit threatened if you're strong and forthright and honest?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's kind of we're not used to it. Maybe if everyone was really into communicating their feelings up front and talking through things, maybe it would be different. But I think that we have been conditioned as a society to kind of, and maybe even more so as women, to mask how we feel in order to make other people comfortable.
Yes.
Like,
and how dare we? And it's always interesting when, as females, we step out of that pleasing and making other people feel comfortable, making other people feel safe, checking with others before we check in with ourselves. When we step out of that and actually start asking the questions and actually start asserting ourselves and actually start going, no, I need to make sure I'm okay in this situation as well, that's when shit can go really fucking bad. Really bad. Because that's challenging the mold that is indoctrinated and expected to be adhered to.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
People love comfort. I don't really like comfort, which is generally why I like spend my life wearing PVC and latex in extremely hot environments. But like, it definitely in a communicative sense, like I love having conversation and I love clarifying things. And in fact, I would eat myself away. I am too anxious to live a day not knowing whether something is okay or not.
Correct.
But so many people are. So many people would rather take that to the grave than literally be like, you know what, John? I'm not into it.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%, Alex. I think that's like the way that you just phrased that just then is a testament to the strong, independent woman you are, which is fabulous because, you know, we need more.
Yes.
We need more.
We do strong women army.
Yeah. I've got a
Yeah.
few recruits. I know a few. Especially this powerhouse lady to my right.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
Feels around.
Yeah, it's really interesting though that unfortunately we are still living in a time where we are still subconsciously expected to feel that mold.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's
Do you feel like that? Do you feel
I
like you need
definitely
to fit
feel
a
like
mold?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year, I think, also in view of what's happening in the world. I've certainly started speaking my truth more and being more living my truth, walking my walk, talking my talk. And it's interesting because it's almost like I need to have a conversation with myself. If something's not resonating with me and doesn't feel right anymore, I've sort of caught myself a few times thinking, it's okay, Lainey, you're allowed to actually bring it up with whoever it is or whatever situation it is and say, this actually doesn't sit very well with me.
Yeah.
I need this, this and that. And I'm a pretty easygoing person mostly, so it has to be usually something pretty big if it's not resonating with me, and it's maybe been accumulative. But the big thing I found, and I'd be interested to hear your spin on it too, Alex, especially because of what's going on in Melbourne, whether you've sort of had, I guess a different awareness of what we've just been talking about, like.
Yeah. And something that you said just then about sort of feeling like you need, raising when you know that something's not feeling right or that something could be better, I think is an interesting thing, because something that I've been thinking about while I've been in isolation is that it's actually okay to not know, full stop. Like it's okay to not have an answer, and you can still raise things and go, hey, something doesn't feel right to me, but I actually can't put my finger on what it is yet. But I wanted to communicate how you feel. If you feel like I'm off or I'm not feeling great, it's because I'm trying to process everything that's going on around me. And that's been something that's been happening in isolation. And I've had a lot of ups and downs with friendships and people in my life and close inner circle throughout isolation. It's because everyone's processing things in a really different way. And I've been sitting here, and I think that in some ways I've had probably like one of the biggest roller coasters of mental health and things like that while sitting here, and not in the way that I ever have had before.
Oh, that's good though.
It is, but in other ways it's just kind of been me delving further into myself as a person, and it kind of to begin with was this big like, what am I doing? Who am I? What's wrong with me? It wasn't a positive thing. And then coming out of this on the other side, I feel like I have got a lot more drive to say I'm not doing okay. And to communicate that to people and not have an answer why. And people are so fixated, and it's gorgeous. And I know that I did the same thing. If I have someone message me who is saying, I am not feeling great, I'm feeling anxious, my first reaction is, how do we solve this? And how do we solve it now? What are the problems? How do we address them? How do we move on? But it's not always like that. And I think relationships are a clear indicator of that. They can be feeling rocky for a really long time.
Yeah.
And you don't know why.
Yeah. Well,
and then whether that comes out, sure. Whether it doesn't, and that's okay as well. But knowing that something doesn't have to be an actual thing in order for it to not feel right is a big one for me that I've been realizing in isolation.
Well, that's, I think, something that's really important with what you've just said there, Alex, is about being honest with yourself and allowing yourself to go, actually, fuck, I don't feel good. And allowing yourself to sit in that and then being proactive in getting out of it without trying to snuffle it out really quickly, which is actually not going to do anyone any good. And I think when it comes to relationships, if things are not good, that's where people need to start doing some self-evaluation and honesty. And you've always got to be honest with yourself first before you can be honest with anybody else around you. So sometimes, I guess, in relationships, I don't know, because I haven't been in one for such a long time. Fuck, I'm talking out of school here. Or
pressure, Mike.
But I would hope if I ever got into another relationship at some time in the future that I would try and be as honest as I can and do that self-analysis. And I think because we're creatives, we analyze shit because we need to. Because if we are creating stuff, we need to analyze life and what's around us to be able to put good shit down on paper to produce good shit. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Have I just made sense?
It really does.
Yeah.
And a lot of self-analysis and reassessment.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, in light of the world we're now living in.
Yeah,
and as creatives and entertainers now trying to find where we fit in this weird kind of paradigm, it's really interesting. Really interesting.
Do we have any jobs anymore? But that's a funny thing you say, Carla, because I feel like another thing that a lot of people in my past have had problems with have been, am I going to end up in a show or a song? And the answer is yes. But
always yes. But I love it. I love it when people ask, like on a date, because obviously for the show I did some research and I went on online dating because I fucking hate online dating. I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it. Just want to make sure that we're all very clear about how much I hate it.
Little sidebar.
Yeah,
so much that I'm so glad I've never done it.
Yeah, no. And each to their own, but it was not for me. In saying that, there'd be guys asking like what I do, and I'd explain what I do. And because my shows are about my life on stage, literally, within the first couple of minutes of a fucking date with a guy that was usually 98% not right for me, they would assume that they would be in the show that I'm writing. And I think that's a bit arrogant. Like, I've just fucking met you, mate. We've spoken for less than 5 minutes. You've maybe heard a sentence or two from me about what I do. Usually on first dates, guys have not generally asked anything about me. I've done the questions and the listing. But I think there's a bit of an arrogance when people that hardly know you go, oh, am I going to be in your show? Give you permission before you put this shit in. I'm like, hang on, you haven't presented any good material for me to use.
Yeah,
so,
tickets
no,
buddy. But here we are talking about them.
It's a bit of arrogance.
It is. I find that really funny as well, and I'm it's sort of on a slightly different level in regards to like people that have seen me perform,
yeah,
and have met me after.
Right.
Or that we've like bumped into each other somewhere at a bar and they've been like, I saw you in a show a month ago or something like that.
Like,
that assume that who I am on stage is who I am in real life. And I can tell you that I'm really not. You're talking to me right now, and I can tell you that Alex on that stage doesn't do a lot of talking. She does a lot of like standing and singing, and that's it.
Yeah.
But the way that I appear and the way that I interact with people and audience members, people assume that very like high level of power and assertiveness is something that I'm going to bring into a relationship, which frustrates the crap out of me because so many people turn around to me and they're like, oh, you're a dominatrix, aren't you? And I'm like,
no,
absolutely not. I just like to wear black PVC. Like,
there you go. That was going to be my question. That's amazing. You caught it. I was just going to ask if the romantic, or not even romantic prospects, if the people you met sort of made that exact assumption that you just talked about. I certainly know it's been an interesting thing to watch how the novelty wears off. To start with, it's really great for the person. Oh, yeah, I love that she's a musician. Oh, she can't come to this barbecue or go to this birthday party. Oh, that's crap, you're working again, all of a sudden. Yeah, it's very interesting to see how the assumption that you are that kind of person off stage, and also to see, does that novelty sort of wear off for them once they realise that you're actually a different person in your downtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of puts you in a bit of a bubble of like, and I don't know if you feel the same, but I definitely feel like now in my life, I find it extremely difficult to socialize and even, you know, manifest the possibility of having a relationship with someone who isn't in the arts. And it makes me feel like a bit of a wanker sometimes, because I know that there are people that I've probably met after shows, or people that I've, you know, talked to online that could have been really incredible partners, but because they see me as not on a platform above them, that's not how I see it at all. But like there is an element of like, this is a lifestyle that is something that I haven't experienced.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I feel the same about when I meet like doctors.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, tell me about it.
Yeah.
And it's probably annoying to them because they're like, this is just my job and it's really not that interesting, and you really don't need to delve into all of the little pieces of how my career works.
Yeah.
But it's also really important to understand as well in order for that to work.
Yeah, correct.
Hard balance.
Yeah.
I've had some interesting experiences. There was a show that I did a few years ago, and it was kind of in the same vein as the Bachelorette. Like I was talking about love, but I was under my cabaret character, which was an Italian widower who was married off at 16 by her father. All of this is not true. This is made up. Made off by her father at 16 to a disgusting, drunk, old Italian man in Italy, and then he mysteriously died. She killed him. And then she was just traveling around the world collecting love stories, and then the show was about the love stories that she collected. Now, in this show, I spoke about some pretty vulnerable stuff, and it would always be my life disguised through this character. And there was one story that I spoke about an abusive relationship, and about the way that this dude would speak to the character. And then when I did this show, there was like 2 occasions after the show, different times of the year, different, you know, seasons and whatever. And a couple of guys decided to reenact the abusive part of the story to me.
Oh my goodness.
And then because I didn't take that in a jovial manner, I was a fucking bitch.
Interesting.
I was like, no. I put that on stage so you could see that that was not okay. And I clearly explained why that was not okay through the character. And you've taken that and think that that's funny to throw that back
And
at
because
me.
of social conditioning, they expected you to just
Yeah.
laugh and take it.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
That frustrates me. And do you feel like he would have done that if he'd had the opportunity while you're on stage? Or do you feel like it's like once you're back on their level, once you're not on that pedestal, that it all of a sudden becomes okay? Because I feel the same about that with people touching me in the club.
Yes, that would
And
be
people, like I wear leotards. I'm not saying that
you're
I'm
fucking
a
hot, Ali.
conservative person. I'm, you know, I wear little.
yes.
But people all of a sudden have this idea that as soon as I'm like off that stage for the evening, and I want to talk to people and I want to get to know people, that's my favorite part of doing what I do is speaking to people. And that's why I do it. I do it for people. Like I'm not doing it to boost my own self-worth. I literally just love people. I love it. I love it. And it is really hard to sometimes see that and have people touch you. And I've had so many colleagues that have had their, you know, bum slapped and people grab them. And I can't actually believe that people would think it's okay.
Yeah.
And
it's disgusting.
it really is. And even if it's just on a, you know, in a non-physical way, I've had middle-aged women come up to me that have had their like first night out in a gay bar. They're like, woo, look at all these people around me that are like something that I've never experienced before, that maybe like a year ago I probably would have said something really homophobic and nasty about all of them. Then come up to me after a few Chardonnays and say like, can I kiss you? And things like that when they've seen me perform. And, you know, thank you for asking. My goodness,
least I
absolutely
suppose
not.
they
It's
ask.
nice enough to ask, but it's this assumption that would you ever do that to me if I was just someone who had walked in the venue?
Yep.
Correct.
Or is it that you've seen this 1 hour long show about not even my life that you were saying, Carla, like someone else's life, someone else's story, that they sort of in their head think, wow, this gives me permission that when this person is no longer on that stage and no longer telling that story, that now I can come in.
Yeah, correct. And
It's wild. It's gross.
Boundaries. Yeah, it's foul.
It is. And I don't think people realize how dangerous our industry is. If you are it doesn't matter. Well, yeah, okay. I'm just going to say what I think. Usually it's women that, yes, there are men that fall victim to this kind of stuff too. Yes, I'm acknowledging that. I don't want to take away from the victims that are male or transgender. But there are so many times where I've finished a gig and I'm by myself and I'm either walking to my car or walking to whatever it is, and because I'm dolled up, I've got all my makeup on, but I make sure that I'm fucking covered walking to wherever I am, because I know too well and have had too many experiences that from people that have either seen the show or just random people on the street, that we are open to that dangerous part of society.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What's your experience with that, Alex?
Oh, I hate that you feel that way. Like I hate that women and people in general feel like they have to dress a certain way. And I know that we talk about it so often. And I had this conversation with my mum and my stepdad when they came to see some shows when I was working in Melbourne.
Yeah.
They came up for the weekend and I said, I've got this show, and I had a jam-packed weekend. It was during Sydney Mardi Gras. I'd flown in the day. I was hosting a show every night. I was exhausted, which means my tolerance for people is below zero.
Yes.
Yes, I know.
But like I will be predicting that you're going to say something before you've said it, and I will have an answer that will absolutely snap you into a million pieces.
I love it.
But it is this really sad thing, and it doesn't really faze me anymore, and I kind of get a little bit of a kick out of telling someone what I think these days. But it's kind of sad that we feel like we already have to have our guard up in some ways. And I do feel like that some people come up to me and are like just wanting to compliment me and be like, you look beautiful tonight, and I just say like, back off.
Leave me alone.
That'll cost you $20. But and the good old, like, I remember being 16 at the Fringe Parade in Adelaide and having someone yell out of their car that they wanted me to do a sexual activity on them, and I turned around and told them that they should buy a ticket to my show, but unfortunately it's sold out. And
good girl.
Like, it's just silly that you even have to have those things in your head. But my mum was sort of saying, oh, you used to look so beautiful, and you used to, your makeup was so gorgeous, and you'd wear the beautiful long-sleeved, long sequined gowns and tights, and, just a little pump, a little stiletto heel.
You're still fucking beautiful, Alex, just FYI.
But, thank you. But, like, I wear a lot of makeup. There's no denial. The Kryolan store should really sponsor me, because I'm going through pans and pans of their makeup. And, and I said to her, I said to her, you know what? Sorry, what was that, Lainey?
I said it just washes us out if we don't have makeup on when we're under.
It does, it completely does. But I said to her, there's this really weird thing that when I started performing, I would wear like, a little bit of pink eyeshadow and a small wing and a red lip. And now I'm like overdrawing my lip that has got like a glitter packed onto it. My eyeliner is up to where my eyebrows are. My eyebrows are never where they were genetically given to me. Like, I'm wearing lashes. I'm wearing 7 lashes on each eye.
There you go.
And you know what? no one talks to me anymore.
Oh,
Great.
Hey,
But
you're
I'm
pretty
so it's sort of peaked past this level of like beauty, and it's just intimidation.
yeah.
good.
Intimidation to the point where people feel like they wouldn't even dare say, like, if I turned around, I'd probably whack them with my third lash. Like, so, you know, there is a funny level of like, I wear less than I've ever worn in my whole life, yet no one talks to me.
Yeah, isn't that
And
interesting?
it's great. So my recommendation to anyone who feels like they want to wear that skirt that like shows a little bit bottom bit of their tush, or they want to wear those heels, or they want to wear that top that like basically just covers like half a boob, do it. But just wear 18 pairs of lashes and so much foundation that you could run a nail through it and it will create a mark.
Oh, that's
Like,
Good advice, Alex.
yeah.
Good advice. Well, darling, that chat was absolutely delightful. Thank you so much for being a guest today with us on the Bachelorette and Friends. It's been so lovely seeing your face, hearing your voice, seeing your nice apartment.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me. I've had heaps of fun. I've sort of had my eyes open to things. Adelaide, watch out when I get back.
Woo, woo, woo.
Wow.
Open arms, Alex.
Yeah, come on back. Come on back, baby.
Right, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Through that bush. Arms bush. The Bachelorette with friends near and far, from heartache to catfish and sex toys. The Bachelorette and Friends. See you next time if you dare.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.